Hi, my name is Jacqueline Phan. I'm a master's student in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, and my advisor is Dr. Ernesto Abel Santos. Today, I would like to introduce you to a major problem in our healthcare setting called Clostridium difficile infection, or CDI. Now, many times when people think about the presidential elections, they think about issues such as the economy, global warming, and foreign policy. While all these are important issues to discuss, some of the seemingly smaller issues are often neglected. On September 21st, 2016, the United Nations declared that antibiotic resistance is the greatest and most urgent global risk. CDI is a prominent disease linked with antibiotic use and resistance. There are many reasons why Americans should be concerned with CDI, but here are 3 reasons. First, CDI is a very serious problem. Over 500,000 people are diagnosed with CDI per year in just the United States alone, and there's up to 25% reoccurrence. The second reason is that CDI is very deadly. There are over 29,000 cases of deaths reported per year within just 30 days of diagnosis. The last reason, and perhaps a very important one to many Americans, is that CDI is very expensive. It can cost an average of $35,000 to treat a single inpatient CDI, which can add up to $3.2 billion in annual cost burden to the U.S. healthcare system and ultimately to you as U.S. citizens. These are reasons why we need to direct funding towards the research of this disease and other diseases like it before having to resort to spending billions of dollars on the aftermath. CDI is caused by rod-shaped bacteria called Clostridium difficile, or more commonly known as C. diff. A key characteristic of C. diff is that it is able to form these tough and round structures called spores that are the infectious form of the disease. Spores are basically like super eggs that can survive in many different environments until a trigger causes them to hatch, or what we call germinate, into toxin-producing cells that can eat away at the intestines. This germination process is required for CDI symptoms to occur, and it just so happens that the gut can be a perfect environment for these spores to germinate in. CDI can cause abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, explosive diarrhea, gastrointestinal bleeding, and in worst case scenarios, even death. Our research in the Abel Santos lab focuses on how bile salts that are produced in the liver and secreted into the intestines have the potential for drug development in the preventative treatment of CDI. In our bodies, there are bile salts that act as natural germinators of C. difficile spores, represented by these green stars. We also have bile salts that act as natural inhibitors of spore germination, represented by the red stars. In healthy individuals, there are good bacteria in the gut that help keep these bile salts in check. So as we move further and further down the gut, there is less and less natural germinator and more natural inhibitor. Therefore, any spores that enter the body will exit the body as spores and not cause CDI symptoms. However, in patients who are immunocompromised or those who have recently taken antibiotics, that natural gut bacteria is now depleted and is less efficient at regulating these bile salts. So as we go further and further down the gut, there is more and more natural germinator and less natural inhibitor to help prevent CDI. Therefore, the spores will end up germinating into those toxin-producing cells and cause CDI symptoms. Our research in the Abel Santos lab aims at producing synthetic bile salt compounds that can act as better germination inhibitors than the natural inhibitor. In past studies done in the lab, we have found a synthetic bile salt compound called CAMSA that has been found to be a 5 times better germination inhibitor than the natural inhibitor. We tested CAMSA in the epidemic type strain of C. diff called 630, and also in the hypervirulent strain of C. diff called R20291, which causes severe disease. CAMSA was able to prevent spore germination and CDI symptoms in mice with the strain 630. However, it was less successful with the strain R20291. Currently, we are testing another compound called 07C that has been found to be a better germination inhibitor than CAMSA in various strains of C. diff. In the strain 630, we see that 07C is able to greatly inhibit spore germination, and there are no CDI symptoms in mice. And in the strain R20291, we see a moderate reduction of CDI symptoms in mice. Previously, CDI has been linked with people with weakened immune systems or those who are elderly. However, in the past decade, CDI has been on the rise within the community in people of all ages. This could be due to increased antibiotic use and resistance. As we move forward towards the presidential election, I hope that you will consider the need for the funding of this research, as C. diff and other antibiotic-associated diseases are an imminent threat that many Americans are forgetting to consider in this upcoming election. Thank you for your time and consideration.